So in today's video, we are going to discuss Charvarius Ward signing with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, before we get into the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's just jump right into the video. Now, as I mentioned, Charvarius Ward is signing with the San Francisco 49ers, a 3-year deal worth up to $42 million. This is a fantastic pickup for the San Francisco 49ers because he became an absolute stud in Kansas City. He became one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL. So these are just some next-gen stats of Charvarius Ward. He had a completion percentage allowed of 40%, an expected completion percentage of 46.6%. So those were tops in the NFL according to the next-gen stats. He had yards per target 4.6, which is third. He allowed the third best for his position passer rating at 52.5. and had the best tight window completion percentage against him, 46.7, which also ranked first in the NFL. So I'll post those stats on the screen now, but as you can tell, Charvarius Ward is a massive pickup for the San Francisco 49ers, easily one of the top free agent cornerbacks in the NFL this offseason, and he was going to be nearly impossible to keep on the Chiefs roster. The Chiefs can't afford a $14 million a year corner. As much as I would love to have him on the field, it's really going to be hard. It would have been hard to keep him on the roster at that price tag. Now, I went through watching some highlights because people on Twitter asked me what to expect from him, and I'm going to say you're going to expect some great things from him. Now, there's two games in particular that kind of struck me. Maybe I'm wrong when I was watching the games, but these are the two highlights that I watched: the Cowboys game and the Bengals game. That was the Cowboys game was the absolute best that you're going to get from Charvarius Ward, and his absolute best is some of the highest potential, some of the highest play in the entire NFL. The dude is constantly making plays on the football. That interception that he had on CeeDee Lamb was something special. The dude just turned out to be a lockdown corner in the NFL. Now, if you look at the game against the Bengals, he really struggled, but I don't think that's necessarily his fault. That had to do with defensive scheming and the lack of adjustments that came from the defensive coaching staffs and Spags. So you look at those two games, you have the highest of highs, and it was a low game for him against the Bengals, but again, not his fault. There was zero defensive adjustments. So if I'm a 49ers fan, disregard the Bengals game if you ask me, because that's not Charvarius Ward. He has steadily improved every single year in Kansas City. He elevated himself and his play every single year. And I think having Tyrann Mathieu on the team obviously is a good reason why it helps. So you can bring any experience that he learned from Tyrann Mathieu, you can then bring that into San Francisco, and you're getting a top corner in the NFL, and he's worth every penny of it. You're going to love his play. You're going to love his excitement. His man coverage, it's something special, and you're going to love it. As a Chiefs fan, I'm very sad to see him go. He was one of the top guys that I really would have loved for the Chiefs to keep, because if we're looking more at the stats for him, it's not necessarily, stats aren't everything, but there were some great stats. He had 222 total tackles in his time in Kansas City, 29 passes defended, 4 interceptions, and he's a Super Bowl champion. So you're getting a Super Bowl winning level corner in San Francisco. So you're going to be very happy with who you got. Trust me, I was sad once I found out he was gone. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. No one's happy when they lose a top player, because then if you look at the Chiefs side of things, they still have a little bit of holes left to fill on that secondary. Now, Justin Reed being signed absolutely helped them in a tremendous way. So they got the secondary figured out with Tyrann Mathieu not coming back. You have Juan Thornhill. So you have the safeties at least figured out. So going forward into this offseason, we can finally cross off that little worry that we have. Now, obviously, we need to sign for depth, because I don't think that, because there's that gut feeling that they're going to end up bringing back Daniel Sorensen, and I'm not going to be too thrilled about that, because they need actual depth. They don't just need a guy that has tenure there and they're just going to bring in because they know him. I'm not a huge fan of the Chiefs bringing back Daniel Sorensen. He's a massive liability, and he's one of the worst safeties in the NFL. So I'm not going to be too happy if he ends up coming back. But the Chiefs, they're still going to need depth at the safety position. But if you look at the corner position, losing Charvarius Ward is a massive hit to this defense. I think it's one of the most underrated hits to this defense, because now you have Rashad Fenton and L'Jarius Sneed are really the only two guys that I would really trust. L'Jarius Sneed quickly ascended to become one of the better corners in the NFL. He's massively underrated, doesn't get talked about much. He was an absolute steal by Brett Veach in the draft. So we have him going for us, and I think he's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be a year for him to elevate, along with Rashad Fenton. Rashad Fenton's also going to have a chance to be in the spotlight and shine, because now the Chiefs are going to have to either draft or find somebody, which it's going to be really hard in free agency to find a corner like that, especially when you just had a guy leave for $14 million. So it could get kind of pricey for some guys. So I think the draft is the direction to go. The Chiefs are going to go to fill that hole of Charvarius Ward being gone. But you look at L'Jarius Sneed, Brett Veach was able to find him in the 4th round of the 2020 draft. And then you had Brett Veach, who was able to find Charvarius Ward in the 6th round of the 2019 draft. So Brett Veach has that talent. I don't know what the word is, but he has that ability to find late round talent, and I fully expect him to do it again this year, because they were able to restructure Frank Clark's contract so they can still go hopefully a little bit big when it comes to the edge rusher, get that situation figured out, get Chris Jones some help on that defensive line. The linebacking situation's figured out for a few years now. Like we don't really have anything to worry about linebacker other than possibly depth. So we have cornerback that's really going to be a big thing. Now that the Chiefs can go on a draft, they still need an edge rusher and they still need a corner. But Brett Veach's ability to find guys late in the round, late in drafts, I'm not necessarily worried about it, because again, L'Jarius Sneed is just amazing. The dude, for a 4th round pick, the ability that he has, you could argue that he could have been taken much higher in the draft. His ability to come up on the ball and make plays on the ball in the passing game is something different. The ability to come up to the line of scrimmage and make tackles. You have Rashad Fenton, who had arguably a breakout year for him, becoming a fairly solid corner. He did struggle at times, but at the same time, Rashad Fenton, he'll have time to learn. He's only heading into his 4th year, so he has a much time to improve. Charvarius Ward, 4 years in Kansas City, improved. Rashad Fenton, he's going to have his chance to, improve. This is his 4th year, so maybe he does improve. So there's a lot of optimism here in Kansas City. There's nothing to be worried about. I trust Brett Veach. It was late into the night. It almost looked like he forgot that free agency had started. But you have Brett Veach, who he can find late round talent. He has the magic of restructuring contracts like he did with Frank Clark. He'll find talent. So I'm not necessarily worried. He'll find that edge rusher that we need to help with the line. He'll find the depth at safety and corner, or safety and linebacker. He'll find another corner, help with depth there, and he'll sign a wide receiver. I'm not really worried about it. Brett Veach, he'll work his magic, and I think the Chiefs are off and running and are looking to make a run at another Super Bowl.